everybody, and welcome back to another Saturday morning of the Dark Descent into Horror podcast. As always, I am one of your co hosts. My name is Amanda from AGP, and the other co host of this amazing podcast,
Me.
Feel the Hatred, as usual. Last week we checked out cursed objects. Today we're looking at haunted locations.
Yeah, it should be good.
So, have you ever been to a haunted location?
That depends.
Have you ever gone someplace that was haunted? Doesn't even have
Yeah.
to be in a place, but
I said it depends.
on.
What you would consider to be haunted.
Normally there would be paranormal activity or a ghost or something. So no?
Well, you wouldn't recognize it, so it wouldn't matter.
We could always look it up. There's this thing called Google.
Yeah, Google Maps doesn't work, right? Not the way you think.
Well, then tell us about it. Story.
No, it's fine. Moving on.
Okay. I myself have been to a couple of houses that were haunted, and I've actually been to Waverly Hills Sanatorium because they do tours there, which is a lot of fun and uber scary and has this really creepy vibe about it. So today we're going to look at some, well, actually, most of these are actually well known. You probably have either seen them or heard about them. A lot of shows have done them, like Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures. You know, Ghost Hunters where there's ghosts, Ghost Adventures where everything's a demon.
Everything's a demon.
Have you watched that show? Everything on that show is a demon.
Yes, well, I remember an archaeological show where everything was a Saxon burial ground. I'm starting to sense a theme here.
There's always a theme. You can't do a show without a theme. Come on now.
Oh, really? Yeah, who's telling me that there shouldn't be themes? Okay, yeah.
Well, obviously every show has its theme.
Uh-huh.
It does. So the very first place we're going to look at is actually over in Paris, France. Can you guess what it is, Fuel?
I could, but then that would be telling.
We're going to take a look at the Catacombs. Bum, bum, bum. The Catacombs of Paris are underground ossuaries in Paris, France, which hold the remains of more than 6 million people in a small part of the tunnel network built to consolidate Paris's ancient stone quarries. Hey, Cassie, how's it going, baby girl? Because the catacombs are actually directly under the Paris streets, large foundations cannot be built above them, and cave-ins have destroyed buildings. So actually, for this reason, there are very few buildings in this area. When you actually get to go visit, and yes, there is a itty bitty section of the catacombs that you can visit today. A sign above reads, "Arrête, c'est ici l'Empire de la Mort," which means stop, this is the Empire of the Death. Or this is the Empire of Death, not the death, of death. The Catacombs, awesome. I was hoping for entertainment. I would love to see the Catacombs. I actually have a video to go with this one. Because I'm that awesome.
Are you sure it wasn't entertainment of the dead? Because apparently that's what she's looking for. So, you know, should be a thing.
No, she doesn't want me to die. The Catacombs of Paris became a curiosity for more privileged Parisians from their creation, and early visitors began the court of Artios, later Charles X of France, during 1787. Public visits began after its renovation into a proper ossuary, and during the 1814-1815 war. Hi, no.
Olded cat possessed.
Yeah. First allowed only a few times a year with the permission of an authorized mines inspector. It actually became more frequent, and then it was permitted by a mine overseer. And a flow of visitors degraded the ossuary to a point where the permission only rule was restored back to originally a few times a year, with only a mines inspector. Um, in 1833, the church opposed exposing human remains to the public, so it was closed because the church says we're not allowed to see dead people, I guess.
That's interesting, considering what I've seen on broadcast TV before.
Mm-hmm. Then in 1850, it was open again to the public because they were demanding it. So the government allowed monthly visits starting from 1850 to 1867, which were biweekly visits on the first and third Saturday of each month, with an extra opening for the November 1st Toussaint holiday. In 1978, it went to weekly visits. And then the most visitors ever to the catacombs was in 1889 and in the 1900s World Fair expositions. After an incident of vandalism, the catacombs were closed. Catacombs were closed again to the public in 2009, and then they were reopened again in December of the same year. And then they were closed, and then the catacombs have now been reopened to the public as of June 16th, 2020, with new rules and guidelines for visitors.
Yes.
So yes, you can visit this itty bitty little space, but a lot of people like to visit the "you're not allowed to be in there" section.
Yeah, that was rule 2. Don't do
it. Don't do it. Legend says that if you're actually inside the Paris catacombs after midnight, the walls begin to speak. Disembodied voices will try to persuade you to venture deeper and deeper to the catacombs until you can't find your way out. There's rumors of canvases, parties, even theaters that have been where people in the restricted "you're not allowed to go there" sections, people have built these things and that's where they hide out. But one of the creepiest legends by far actually comes with a video. So I bring up video now.
A video? Okay.
A video. This is the Paris Catacombs lost man footage. It's actually quite creepy. Okay. So this is actually one of the creepiest Paris Catacombs legends. In the early 1990s, a group of cataphiles, which are people who study and explore the Paris Catacombs regularly, were walking through the dark chambers of the cemetery, and they actually happened upon this video here, a video camera on the ground. To their surprise, the camera had footage on it, and as the group watched the footage, they hear disturbing noises. It becomes apparent that the man holding the video camera was lost and had no idea how to escape. In the video, the audience could clearly draw that the man is going mad inside the underground network of tunnels, which they are dark. It is absolutely dark and wet. It's a cave, people. What really gets people is how erratic his movements are in this video. The video ends abruptly with the man dropping the camera on the ground. To this day, no one knows who this man was or if he came out alive. Many actually believe that this actually inspired the movie As Above, So Below.
Huh. I can say I remember it having a different plot, but okay.
It probably had a different plot, but you know, come on, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is based off of a true story, sort of, kind of, mainly. Oh, we like this idea, let's expand on it.
Sort of, I guess, very loosely based.
But
yeah, that'll be a good topic next, actually.
I would love, me personally, I would love, just like Cassie would, to go see the catacombs, but not that itty bitty section. Give me my boots and my coat and a headlamp. I want an actual headlamp. I don't want to be carrying a flashlight. I want a headlamp. Give me my climbing gear. Give me a video camera, and let's go explore. Because I want to find because supposedly in the catacombs is the gate to hell. So we can send you home. Fuel?
Why would I need to go there for that?
Because it's the gate to hell. That's your home, isn't it? That's where you were
You
spawned.
really think I'd only have the one?
It does explain why you live in Australia.
Yeah, and not near the catacombs, in a completely different country, in a different hemisphere. Sometimes you need to have the back door. Multiple entrances, always useful.
No.
Yes.
Hold on. Why is it doing that?
I don't know. Maybe ask it again.
It's not giving me my picture. I need to bring up the next picture.
Damn PowerPoint presentations.
I hate that. Well, it does kind of suck. We'll just do this. There we go. I can bring it. So the next location that we are going to is the Island of the Dolls. Because dolls aren't creepy at all, right, guys?
Of course not. That's why you gotta burn them all.
You burn dolls? That's mean. That's horrible.
Oh no, it's mean.
All right, so this just south of the Mexico City, between the canals of Xochimilco. See, I was practicing my words. You can find a small island with a sad background, which never intended to be a tourist destination. The island is actually known as Isla De Monica's, the Island of the Dolls. By the way, if my pronunciation is a little off, sorry, but I'm pretty sure that's as close as my little American mouth can make it. Sorry. I don't have like the actual, what is it, dialect, the inflections, the way that it should be spoken in their language.
Or the pronunciation, perhaps. That could be another thing.
Anyway, this island is dedicated to the lost soul of a poor girl who met her fate too soon in strange circumstances. The area has thousands of people, but this small island is home to hundreds of terrifying dolls. Their severed limbs, decapitated heads, and blank eyes adorn the trees. I always feel like the doll is watching me.
Terrible business.
It is said that a girl was found drowned in the mysterious circumstances many years ago at this island, and the dolls are actually possessed by her spirit. Local legend actually says that the dolls move their heads and arms and even open their eyes. Nope, I'm out. Goodbye. Some witnesses claim that they hear the dolls whispering to each other, while others who were on a boat near the island said the dolls lured them to come to the island. Don Julian Santara Barbera was the caretaker of the island. The story goes that Julian found a little girl drowned in mysterious circumstances, and while he was not able to save her life, he decided that he was unable to save her life. Shortly after, there was a doll that was floating near the canals, right where he found the girl, and he thought that the doll probably belonged to the girl. So he picked up the doll and hung it on a tree as a way of showing respect and support, and to support the spirit of the little girl. Julian was apparently haunted by the spirit of the girl and started hanging more and more and more and more dolls in an attempt to please her spirit. He soon realized the dolls themselves were possessed by the spirits of the dead girl and continued to collect creepy dolls, hanging them all over the island. After 50 years of collecting dolls and hanging them on the island, Julian was found dead, drowned in the same spot where the girl did. Many people on the island actually believe that Julian had joined the other spirits on the island. And the locals are very faithful that the island is a charmed place. After Julian's death in 2001, it's actually become a major tourist attraction where visitors bring even more dolls because that's what that island really needs. And of course, after the death of Julian, the island has actually become very famous and has been featured in many articles and even television shows. I've seen it on Ghost Adventures myself. Why is my phone going off?
I don't know.
Who's texting me while I'm trying to do a podcast? Oh, my neighbor. Anyway, but yeah, this place is kind of creepy. I mean, I'm sorry. This is in the day, and that's creepy. I don't want to go visit it at night.
And
No.
it's fine to me. Maybe tourists getting there and whatever. I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah, I forgot. You're not afraid of anything, which is disturbing.
What's like to be afraid of, really? I mean, look at that.
There's dolls hanging from trees that like to move and talk. Plenty to be terrified of.
Yes, but they're not moving right now, are they?
Look,
they're just watching.
Let me explain something to you. I had a toy.
Oh, you did?
Talk to me one night. It is the most terrifying thing you will ever experience in your life.
That's what happens when you put the batteries in and you pull the cord.
I took the batteries out.
Afterwards?
It still was talking.
Was it a Furby?
Sort of, kind of.
I hear stories. Damn it, I probably should have added those to the list.
It was the Furby Yoda doll.
Well, you done goofed right there.
No one went. There was not a warning on the box that said, warning, these toys are possessed by demons.
Who said anything about demons?
I watch a lot of Ghost Adventures, so it's obviously a demon.
Are you sure? Maybe you should bury it in a Saxon burial ground. Okay, gotta be appropriate.
Actually, what's funny is ever since I locked it up in the curio cabinet, it's never talked again.
Oh, so you still own it?
Yeah, I still own it. It's locked in the
fucking island you've never been to. Okay,
it's in the curio cabinet.
Oh, it's over there, still haunting me, laughing. But the dolls are creeping me out in an old island.
It was so disturbing. It was so super creepy. I remember too, because I got up because I was in my so I was living in Florida at the time, and I had my double wide trailer. So if you come in this way and go this way, you hit the living room, a hallway, you have the spare bedroom, a bathroom, a spare bedroom, and then the master bedroom, which is where I was at. So I'm 3 rooms down, and I hear something talking in my living room. No, I hadn't purchased my shotgun yet, and I just moved in. So the only thing I had by my bed was my lightsaber.
How appropriate.
So I picked that up, yelling, I've got a sword, get out of my house. Because I'm not going to yell, I've got a lightsaber, get out of my house.
I don't really think it would have mattered either way, considering the fact that your target was probably about, 2 feet tall?
So the living room was actually really cool because it had a rail.
It wasn't Blas Ulrich, was it?
No, it actually had this
playing the drums.
it actually had this really cool help. I'm not an architect. I don't know what to call this thing. Around the ceiling, it actually had shelving that had it looked like little bitty railings. So that's where I put a bunch of my figures at. So they encircled the entire living room, which was really cool. And he was up there. I mean, for all we know, if this thing decided to become animated, this thing could have jumped on my head and be like, I could have died.
So you're saying it wasn't animated?
I mean, I didn't see it move. Well, that's a lie. I saw the eyes blink. And it was talking. And it was talking. And I was like, oh, okay, I just forgot to take the batteries out. So I pulled them down. I took the batteries out. I locked it back up, put them down, put the batteries in the kitchen, went back to bed. And as soon as I walked through the threshold of my bedroom, it started talking again.
I'm sure there's an explanation with this. We'll just have to Google it. Give me a minute.
Yeah, it's called paranormal.
Yeah, it's more like residual power left over from the batteries.
It is called paranormal.
probably plugged itself into the wall.
It did not plug itself into the wall.
It's probably feeding off your fear.
Oh, dear Lord, sir. Can you believe this guy? He doesn't believe me. He doesn't believe me. He is such an ass.
I'm waiting for you to come into press open. I think to lunge at you now. Can you make it happen?
You're such an ass.
Hey, it'd be good for content. Come on.
He's staying locked where he is. Ever since I locked him up, he has never talked. And he's going to stay exactly where he is unless I have to move. And then he gets his own individual box. Just like when I moved into this place, he will get his own individual box for moving. Because I don't trust him.
And not, just put to the torch. Like, all your demons should be.
I'm not going to torch it.
Oh, I see. Because then the cat and the dog don't have anything to play with. They can all wrestle.
Oy vey. Well, speaking of things that are strange and unusual, let's go to your land, down under.
Ta-da!
This is the Monte Crisco Homestead.
Ooh.
So this is actually in Australia, in the New South Wales, and you can actually find the Monte Crisco Homestead. At first, the site. This is a gorgeous, flipping house.
Except for that smog over there in the right-hand corner. What the hell is that?
I don't know. This was like the creepiest looking photo I could have of it. The rest of it looked like this really happy place, and I'm like, that doesn't go with the theme of the dark descendant of horror. So this was kind of like the creepiest thing I could come up with.
It's called irony. It lures them in with its charm and then murders all of them.
What's interesting about this one is
stuff. People aren't going to go into that. Not willingly, anyway.
Well, I mean, look, it's nice and shiny over here, and then here comes a blah 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 blah. Ominous. See, maybe this is the ghost coming in from the storm.
Like sewer water that's got into the clouds.
What's really sad about this is that the actual history of this house is actually one of success, good fortune, and happy people. But unfortunately, things actually ended up happening, and this is actually to be known as Australia's most haunted house. So I should come down there and we should go visit it for the show. Yeah. Oh, I know. We'll put a webcam on you, and you could just go visit it, and I can sit here and watch you live feed it.
But it's not going to be any green fog-like clouds floating over.
No, but supposedly you'll be able to see a lot of ghosts.
See ghosts. Okay.
Just make sure to take the DOTS so I can capture it and put it on TikTok.
Yeah, I'll do exactly that.
So, the history of this house was that Christopher William Crawley, who lived from 1841 to 1910, was a farmer who bought 2 parcels of land in the town of Junee to build his family home. The first 3 years were a struggle for the Crawleys. They lived in a slab hut, and Christopher had trouble feeding his family. But his fortunes changed in 1878 when the Great Southern Railway line opened. He scraped up all the money he could find together and bought a license to build a railway hotel right opposite to the soon-to-be-open railway station, that's kind of genius. Smart guy. The village of Junee only consisted of Crawley's Hotel, but their picture, and the adjoining railway store and some scattered slab huts. The entire village actually benefited enormously of travelers and agricultural trade. Crawley became very rich and even became one of the town's founders. He was absolutely loved and was known to be a generous man with a big sense of civic responsibility.
But then...
Prior to the construction of the new homestead in 1885, the family, father, mother, and 7 kids, whoo, they be busy, lived in a small brick cottage. The original slab hut was demolished and turned into a big stable for his prize horses. The small brick cottage, also referred to as the original homestead, still exists. That house was turned into the servants' quarters. The new home, a 2-story house built in the late Victorian style, became an ultimate status symbol, and because it was built on a hill, it was overlooking the entire town. Christopher Crawley died in his own homestead on December 14th, 1910, from a combination of heart failure and blood poisoning. You know, every time I read something about Australia, there's some type of blood poisoning. What is the matter with your country?
Really? What about those possessed rocks?
Yeah, but those went home with tourists and we sent them back.
There was no blood poisoning.
The latter was caused by a carbuncle in his neck. It got affected from rubbing against his starch collar. See, guys? Starch, bad for your health. After his death, his wife Elizabeth actually couldn't cope with it, so she locked herself in the house and spent most of her time up in the attic where she had built a small chapel. In the remaining 23 years, she only left her house twice. She died at the house at the age of 92 on August 12th, 1933, due to a ruptured appendix. The last member of the Crawley family left the house in 1948, and the house will remain empty for more than a decade. There were several caretakers at the house trying to keep an eye on things, but unfortunately they couldn't prevent the place from being vandalized. All the original furnishings were taken out of the house and sold. The house remained in its poor state until the Monte Crisco homestead was bought by Reginald and Olive Ryan in 1963. The Olives restored the homestead back to its original state and turned it into a museum for tours, including a doll museum. And they have an antique store in it as well. Reginald died in 2014, but his wife Olive still stands strong. When the Ryans moved into the homestead, they immediately noticed something strange was going on. When they went up to the house with their belongings, including their cat and dog, they noticed the animals would not go into the house. In fact, both of their animals ran away from it, and later when they had an evening out, they noticed all the lights were on when they approached the house, but all the lights were off when they opened the front door. It is rumored that this homestead is actually haunted by at least 10 ghosts. Some of them are more prominent than others. The one thing is for sure, the previous owners actually hated animals. They hate them, and they also hate them in the afterlife as well. When the Ryans came home one night, they found all their chickens strangled to death in their poultry run. Also, their parrot was choked to death in its cage, and the litter of kittens raised in the breakfast room were all brutally killed. Do not take your animals here. It's rumored that Christopher Crawley's ghost now haunts the room in which he died. His spirit is as kind as ever. His wife, on the other hand, hasn't changed much after death. She still rules the house with an iron fist, judging everyone who dares to enter her house. If she doesn't like you, she'll try to scare you out with ice-cold air falling on your skin. It is rumored that Christopher Crawley had gotten 2 of his maids pregnant. One of them committed suicide by jumping to her death from the balcony. She was pregnant when she did it. She hit the stairs and was instantly killed. Her ghost still haunts the veranda, and a ghostly bloodstain marks the spot where she met her end. The second pregnant maid gave birth to a son. She named him Harold. When Harold was a young boy, he was involved in a terrible accident on the premise. He was hit by a coach. The child survived the accident but sustained head trauma, which disabled him for life. The poor boy was kept on chains in the coach room. Local children would actually mock it because he would scream all day. They called him a monster. The children of Junie challenged each other to find and pester him. He was eventually put away in an asylum after he was found by the authorities chained to his mother's bed. She had passed away for a while when they found him, and he ended up dying in the asylum, but has come back to haunt the grounds of the homestead, and he makes his presence known by the sounds of the chains that he used to wear, chained to his mother's bed. The coach house is supposed to be haunted by a young stable boy named Morris. He didn't feel well one day and decided to stay in bed at the coach house. His master did not approve of the fact that the boy slept in, so he decided to teach him a lesson. He put the boy's straw mattress on fire.
Told you, fire does everything. Cure for everything. Fixes all.
Are you related to this person? Because you seem to use fire for everything too.
Actually, I prefer the chilled air that all of them was bringing out. That'd be great. Considering that location probably would be hot as fuck.
Probably. But anyway, he set his mattress on fire thinking he would jump up and get to work, but because Morris was so ill, he couldn't get up and died in his bed, and people still hear his screams till today.
Because he couldn't get up.
I mean, could you imagine being so sick that you burned to death? Holy schmanikes.
You just say holy Nikes?
Holy schmanikes.
Okay, so basically Nikes with a weird accent. Okay.
Also, the Crawleys' infant granddaughter Ethel, who died in 1917 because the nursemaid dropped her on the stairs. She claims she was pushed by an unseen force, but she wasn't believed. Today, children who visit the museum become irritable and upset when they enter the stairs. Some guests say they feel as if they are being pushed on their back. Some claim to feel an ice cold tiny hand slip into onto theirs when they go up the go up the stairs. Yeah. A more recent ghost that has been found is that of Jack Simpson. He was one of the home caretakers, and at some point he was shot to death in 1960 on the porch in the front of the house by a young man. This man had been watching Alfred Hitchcock's movies Psycho 3 times before committing this crime. The words "Die Jack, ha ha" were carved into the shed door, where they can still be seen today. And of course, your basic stuff, lights still go on and off, guests experience feeling of nausea, overwhelming sadness, and some people even faint during tours. There are disembodied whispers and unexplained myths at the house, which can be seen all over, and there's some poltergeist activity as well.
Was it green in color?
Of course, because of the history and because of how frequent the hauntings are, this house has actually been featured on several paranormal television shows, including Scream Test, Ghost Hunters International, My Ghost Story. And even today, you can actually visit the Monte Crisco Homestead from Friday to Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and every Saturday evening from 6 p.m. there's a ghost tour. And if you're really brave, you can even spend the night.
Cool.
So when are you going to go spend the night? I want to see this.
Come
on, Fuel. I want you to go do something risque. Do it.
I could do that by playing in the street.
Yeah, but you would welcome the death. I want you to go get a ghost. I want something to scare you. I want to hear Fuel scream out of fear just once in my life. Okay, no. Not exactly what I was going for there, bud.
Yeah, well, I still want your phobia to do something, so come on.
No, it's staying locked up.
Well, then no deal.
Very deal.
Yeah, no deal.
So if we're going from one of the most haunted homes in Australia, it's only fitting to go to one of the most haunted homes in America. The Myrtles Plantation.
But it doesn't have the green fog. Come on.
We don't get green fog in the U.S.
Yeah, you're not supposed to have green fog anywhere, but it could have made the picture a little cooler, I suppose. Doesn't matter. Moving on.
Now, this place, I would love to go to. I mean, look, the Catacombs of Paris is cool, but this is some place that I could actually get to, and I really want to go here. Like, really bad. Like, I want to go here. The Myrtles Plantation is a historic home and former antebellum plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana, in the United States, built in 1796 by General David Bradford. Known as one of America's most haunted homes, the plantation is supposedly home to at least 12 ghosts. It is often reported that 10 murders occurred in the house. even though historically we can only indicate the murder of one William Winter. In 2001, Unsolved Mysteries actually filmed a segment about the alleged hauntings at the plantation. According to host Robert Stack, the production crew experienced technical difficulties during the production of the segment, and also they experienced some paranormal activity themselves, of whispers and walking. And then, of course, the Myrtles was also featured on a 2005 episode of Ghost Hunters.
So
Now,
take your Furby and have fun.
I'm going to Furby you right up your ass.
Good one.
That sounds kind of evil.
Okay. Anyway, take Furby and
So,
have fun.
no, I don't need to take a Furby.
Yeah, you do.
Chloe might do something to it. No.
So what? You think it's bad already? This way it might cancel it out. It'll be balanced.
No, I don't need voodoo done on a Furby doll.
It's already evil compared to, considering what you've been going on about. So
it has not talked since I've left Florida. Maybe whatever was inhabiting it was in Florida.
Okay. No sense
And it can stay that way. I have plenty of sense of adventure. I have gone places that I was not supposed to go to do paranormal investigations, and I see some shit that would just scare your skin off of you.
Just because you've gone behind a door that says, no unauthorized personnel beyond this point, it's not the same thing, okay?
Actually, it didn't say that. It was a boarded up insane asylum in Florida that we ended up breaking the board off the front door so we could sneak in.
Oh, no.
I know. FBI, open up. So
yeah, it's boarded. Why would anyone open up if it's got boards on it?
Because it doesn't have now the board swings.
No. Okay.
Anyway, the most well-known story and the most well-known ghost would be that of Chloe, who was reportedly a slave owned by Clark and Sarah Woodruff. According to the story, Clark Woodruff had either pressured or forced Chloe into being his mistress, or Chloe was listening in at keyholes to learn of Clark Woodruff's business dealings or for other purposes. After being caught either by Clark or Sarah Woodruff, one of her ears was cut off and she had to wear a green turban to hide it. Chloe supposedly baked a cake from one of the two daughters containing an extract of boiled or reduced oleander leaves, which are extremely poisonous. The reason she did what she did was to get work back inside the house. A maid who was getting the favor of the mistress was a suspect, with some saying that she was getting revenge on the Woodruffs, and some say she was attempting to redeem her position by curing the family of the poisoning. According to the legend, her plan backfired. Only Sarah and her two daughters ate the cake and all died from the poison. Chloe was then supposedly hanged by the other slaves and then thrown into the Mississippi River, either as punishment or to escape punishment by Clark Woodruff for harboring her. Of course, this is just a legend, and supposedly there is no record of Chloe actually being there, and so there's no evidence, but it is a legend. There's always something to every legend.
There's no problem taking the Furby then, is there? See?
Stop.
No problems. No, at all.
There are, of course, other legends surrounding the Myrtles. The house is reportedly built over an Indian burial ground, and the ghost of a young Native American woman has been seen. During the Civil War, the house was ransacked by Union soldiers, and alleged claims that they were killed in the house, and you can still actually see the blood stain in the doorway, roughly around the size of a human body, that will not come clean, and cleaners have been unable to push their mops or brooms in that space.
But Furby's still okay.
And actually, we cover part of this. The mirror that's located in the house supposedly holds the spirits of Sarah Woodruff and her two children. According to custom, mirrors are covered after death, but legend says that after their death, this particular mirror was overlooked. The uncovered mirror trapped their spirits of Sarah and her children, who are occasionally seen or leave handprints in the mirror. It's also known that a young girl who died in 1868, despite being treated by a local voodoo practitioner, she supposedly appears in the room in which she died and has been reported to practice voodoo on people sleeping in the room. I want that room, please. I want to see this.
Okay, cool. Take your Furby.
There is also a ghost who reportedly walks, staggers, or crawls up the stairs and stops on the 17th step. People say that this is actually William Drew Winter, the victim of the only verified murder in the house. He was shot on the front porch of the main house and, according to legend, staggered or crawled up the stairs and collapsed dead on the 17th step. Some say that his wife was actually there and he collapsed in her arms on that step. And again, this house is so infamous that it has been on Ghost Hunters, it's been on Ghost Adventures, people document it. I've known about this thing for eons, and God, I would just love to go there. I want to see this stuff for myself.
Take the Furby.
Get off the Furby. You have an obsession with Furbies now.
Yeah, because you said you got one. You gotta take it with you.
It's not a Furby, it's a Yoda Furby.
Care, it's still a Furby, and you're.
And I actually have two. Just the other ones never talked.
Cool, take them both.
No, Gizmo's going to stay exactly where he is. You leave Gizmo out of this.
That way they can talk to each other. It'd be awesome.
You leave Gizmo out of this.
I'm not taking him anywhere. You are. To the house.
No.
Do it.
So we're going to move from houses. No. To probably the most infamous hotel in history.
Drax Castle.
The Stanley Hotel.
Damn.
Which a lot of you should know. I know a little bit about this. So a little bit about the history of the Stanley Hotel. The Stanley Hotel is a 140-room colonial revival hotel in Estes Park, Colorado, in the United States, about 5 miles from the entrance to the Rocky Mountain National Park. It was built by Freeland Oscar Stanley of Stanley Steamer fame and opened on July 4th, 1909 as a resort for upper-class Easterners and a health retreat for sufferers of pulmonary tuberculosis. The hotel which we have more tuberculosis coming. The hotel and its surrounding structures are listed on the National Register of Historic Places. Today, the hotel actually includes a restaurant, spa, and a bed and breakfast with panoramic views of Lake Estes, the Rockies, and Long's Peak. Now, a lot of you probably know this because of this small author called Stephen King. The Stanley Hotel actually inspired the Overlook Hotel in Stephen King's 1977 best-selling novel, The Shining, and its 1980s film adaptation, and was a filming location for the 1997 TV miniseries when he redid it, because he didn't. It is very well known that Stephen King did not like the movie at all.
Yeah, because this one should have Furbies in it. Yeah. Well, looks like Yoda. Do it.
Anyway, the Stanley Hotel has actually been called the Disneyland for Ghosts. It has hosted countless paranormal investigations, including Ghost Adventures, Ghost Hunters. Guests can get in on the action with the Stanley's Ghost Adventure package, where they are assigned a room on the 4th floor, complete with ghost hunting equipment, a mug with the famous message, Red Rum.
Does it have a roller coaster?
They should build one.
Well, you said Disneyland. It's going to have some sort of attractions, right?
It's got a hedge maze.
Yeah, but you could put that over the top.
Ghostly occurrences are reported in almost every room of this vast hotel, from shadowy figures, eerie laughter, flickering lights, to items moving on their own. The Stanley Hotel has all your favorite phenomenon. If you get spooked, just find a member of the cleaning staff. But be careful, even the ghosts hate vacuum. Apparently, the ghosts hate vacuum cleaners. So every time someone vacuums, the machines go haywire, turn off, or the plugs come flying out of the wall. Though the Overlook Hotel from The Shining is fictional, there are characters within. Room 217, the one that King stayed in and is prominent in the novel, remains the Stanley's most requested accommodation. In 1911, during a large storm, the head housekeepers, Mrs. Wilson, was lighting the lanterns in room 217 when there was an explosion. She was blasted through the floor into the McGregor dining room below, and she actually survived with only broken ankles. Now she spends most of her afterlife still taking care of the room. Guests report items moved, luggage unpacked, and lights being turned on and off. Mrs. Wilson is very old-fashioned, and she does not want unmarried guests sleeping in the same bed. So a lot of couples who were not married have actually reported feeling a cold force crawl into the bed and lay between them to keep them separated. And they'll wake up to find that the man's things have been packed and with his luggage by the door. It has also been known that Jim Carrey, that goofy actor that a few people might not have heard of, actually stayed in the room when the Stanley Hotel was actually used for filming Dumb and Dumber. And he reportedly got so spooked that he ran from the room half naked in the middle of the night.
It's the most terrifying part yet.
The stunning staircase between floors in the Stanley's hotel lobby, which has been dubbed the Vortex, is a tornado of spiritual energy, sort of a paranormal portal for all the ghosts that visit the hotel. Guests report cold spots, feeling dizzy on the stairs as though something has just walked right through them. Orbs, distortions have been caught on camera. Mr. and Mrs. Stanley have even been seen there, hand in hand, watching over the hustle and bustle from the grand staircase. The concert hall, which was built by F.O. Stanley, was a gift for his wife, Flora. Can somebody build me a concert hall? Yo,
I want one. The roller coaster.
You want the roller coaster. I'll take the concert hall.
No, that seems more your thing, man.
The stage features a trapdoor used for theatrical entrances and exits. The lower level once housed a 2-lane bowling alley. Holy shit, this place is huge. The hall underwent extensive repair and renovation in 2000, but it is a favorite spot for Flora Stanley. She's been known to play the piano in the middle of the night.
Just to point out, a 2-lane bowling alley is not that big.
I'm just saying, a fucking hotel has a damn bowling alley. Come on.
Yeah, so it's really that big, really, when you think about it. Okay, they have games rooms for that kind of shit.
Another spirit found in the concert hall is Paul. Among other duties, Paul used to enforce 11 p.m. curfew in the hotel's early days. Guests and employees report hearing someone telling them to get out late at night. A construction worker was doing some work on the floors in the concert hall when he felt someone nudge him several times until he left. Paul is a big fan of tour groups, often flickering their flashlights upon request. Guests staying on the 4th floor report hearing children running around, laughing, giggling, and playing. Hell no. If ghosts are bad, children ghosts are worse.
Can I play with this, Daddy?
The closet doors tend to open and shut on their own. More than a century ago, the entire 4th floor was an attic. Later, it became lodging for female employees, children, and nannies. So that's probably why you hear children all over the place. Room 4.
You've just got ants in your brain and you've gone, completely nuts.
Dude, ghosts are real. Stop it. I'm telling you.
People who are then freaked out can usually hear, sounds that aren't there, like children. Been tortured so much.
Room 428 has reports of the sound of footsteps and furniture moving about. But the real haunt is a friendly cowboy who appears at the corner of the bed. Many friendly cowboys have spent a night or two at the Stanley Hotel over the years, but there is no indication of one dying in the building. Those that know their Estes Park history believe this is the spirit of Rocky Mountain Jim Nugent. This is especially because he mostly appears to ladies, sometimes giving them a ghostly kiss. Oh hell no! No 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 no
You'll be
no
fine. Just take the Furby.
no.
Protect you from the mean cowboys.
Ugh.
That apparently never died there or even visited.
Long time ago, before there was indoor refrigeration, the Stanley Hotel had an outbuilding to house large blocks of ice. The ice house has been remodeled into a museum containing some of the original Stanley steamer cars. It also has two spirits that have been seen inside. Billy is a shy kid that shows up as a blurry figure in photos. And
Is he the cowboy?
if the Stanley Hotel doesn't have enough, it also has a pet cemetery. There are two beloved pets here that like to make appearances around the hotel. Cassie, stop haunting the Stanley Hotel. The golden retriever and a fluffy white cat have both been seen and heard all around the property.
Huh?
I'm not sure. Ghost pets. Aww.
I'm not a cat, question mark.
I'm not a cat. F that. Actually, Cassie's the golden retriever. I just can't pronounce the name of the white cat.
It's kind of funny how she's questioning her own existence right now. Shouldn't that be a just exclamation point, as in a statement, not a question?
Let me see if I can figure out how to pronounce this.
Put it in the private chat. I'll have a look.
I'll just give me a second.
Okay, fine.
Camich. The cat's name is Camich. So the cat Camich and the fluffy white cat Camich and the golden retriever Cassie are seen all around the property. Yay!
Yeah, can you put that in the chat either way? Because I want to read this Camich. What the? That's Comanche.
That's not what it said in the pronunciation book.
Well, that's clearly wrong.
And if you think the hotel isn't enough, it has a cave system, people. That's right. You could take a 75-minute historic Stanley night where you get an in-depth look at the underground cave system beneath the hotel. The caves have a high concentration of limestone and quartz, and like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, limestone is known to be a paranormal conductor. Some believe that because of the limestone and quartz, this helps capture paranormal energy. It is being used by employees to get around the hotel, and it would seem that at least one of them is still down there. Current employees say that the smells of home-baked goods linger in the tunnels with no apparent source. They attribute this to the pastry chef who used to work for the Stanley Hotel when it opened. There's also a gray cat seen stalking about with bright green glowing eyes. He is not known to be from the pet cemetery, so perhaps he came from wherever those mysterious tunnels once led.
If he's got glowing green eyes, he's probably a fox.
What does the fox say?
You shine a light on them and they glow green.
I know.
Did you really?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
What
I
color
raised foxes.
What color eyes does a Furby got when he glows?
Thank you, Fizzy.
Fizzy knows.
Yeah,
He's
that's right. You tell Uncle Fuel to shut up.
Yeah, no.
You tell him.
He's trying to answer my question and you're just cutting her off.
No.
What color eyes, Fizzy? You know, you've seen it.
The open area that you can see here in the picture, F that. The open area in front of the Stanley Hotel was originally a long drive for Stanley steamers and a promenade for guests who enjoyed the views. In 2015, it was replaced with a hedge maze. They held a competition where they choose the design from 300 global entries. This was done to connect the hotel to Stanley Kubrick's film version of The Shining Hush, which introduced the suspense-provoking hedge maze. In King's novel, the lawn of the Overlook Hotel was adorned with topiary animals. While no specific ghosts have been reported inside, people tend to get panicky and have trouble breathing while navigating the maze. Obviously, the Stanley Hotel is definitely a top destination for ghost hunters, horror fans, adventure seekers, health enthusiasts, and nature lovers alike. You don't have to stay overnight to experience all that the hotel offers. Tours are available daily, and each restaurant, bar, museum, or spa offers a unique experience. Literally brought back from the dead thanks to one of the most famous and successful writers of all time. It's no wonder that the Stanley Hotel is considered one of the most haunted hotels in the world. And yes, you can go ahead and go there and hang out and have fun.
And bring your Furbies, like Amanda. Because he says yes.
Feel entertained.
I can't really do much of that. So apparently Amanda's dying, or maybe her Furbies taking over the house. That'd be great. Yeah. If only she left the camera on so we could see it happen.
So sorry about that. I hope Fuel entertained you all well because I had to go handle something that was going on in the hallway, which was causing Fizzy to lose her mind.
That's not scary.
Fizzy losing her mind, it's terrifying.
But it, no. What happened? The Furby did something, didn't it? Come on.
No, the Furby did not do anything.
We could have made that more interesting. Jesus. All right. Never mind. Moving on.
Look, here. Here he is in all his glory. Are you happy? Are you happy now?
Take him to the hotel.
I'm not taking him to the hotel.
You can play with the dead animals.
Please, whatever you do, don't move and don't talk.
Come on, sing about the happy train.
I hate you. You know what? I hope you go visit this place.
Yeah, what of it?
Well, this is...
You should pool.
Yes, in the land down under again.
But what is it under?
This is the Devil's Pool in Australia. The Devil's Pool is a natural pool in a treacherous stretch of Babinda. Is that how you call it?
I don't know.
Babinda Creek, where a large granite boulders filled the creek bed. It is one of the main attractions of the Babinda Boulders Scenic Reserve near Babinda, Queensland, Australia.
Okay, yeah, so since it's not written anywhere on that picture, perhaps write it in the chat.
Fizz Gig! You know, I would figure you would be able to just figure it out as I'm saying it.
Yeah, no, not necessarily. But yes, that is Babinda.
In 2005, the Australia TV program Message Stick gave an account of the pool through many interviews and testimonies of witnesses to investigate the prevalence of deaths of young male travelers over the years. The pools have taken approximately 20 lives since 1959, and the local council urges visitors to stay away with a designated swimming area to be safe. or to stay, or not stay away, to stay within a designated area of swimming to be safe.
Sorry, between the yellow flags. Yeah.
The Devil's Pool is the site of the local indigenous tribe's legend, which states how the Babinda boulders were formed. But the tale of why this place has taken so many men's lives is actually one about Ulana, a young woman from the Yindinji.
Private chat.
Give me a second. I gotta copy the word that wit.
That's an interesting one.
Oh, there should be an I at the end of the J.
Yeah. Hindinji, yes.
After being promised to a respective tribe elder, she met a handsome young warrior called Daiga from another tribe and fell in love. They fell out of their tribes and escaped into the wilderness to continue their affair. The elder searched for them and they were captured. Daiga was dragged away. Ulana escaped and was in despair. She threw herself into the Devil's Pool, and her anguished cries turned into the pool's torrents. Locals believe that Ulana's spirit still haunts the Devil's Pool, pulling young men to their untimely deaths. Yeah, kind of, yeah. We could just use that. That works.
It's just so convenient.
The Devil's Pool in Babinda, North Queensland, is a popular destination for both Australian hikers and backpackers traveling up to. I'm so bad with the pronunciations and coming up with the
Cairns.
Karens. A
No,
sign in front of the
Cairns.
Karens.
No, it's not Karens. Cairns.
Cans. Well, what's the IR? Carrions.
No, it's IR. What would it be? Carrions. It's okay. Air with a C and an N. Cans.
Yeah, what he said. A sign in front of Devil's Pool gives explicit warnings to people venturing into the area.
That's what friends are, Karen.
And there is another sign other than the one that you see here that actually says this creek has claimed many lives.
Sorry.
According to Cairns Tours Australia, shut up. When Ulana hit the water crying out for her love, Daiga, which shook the water into action. The land vibrated around her, sending boulders flying into the creek and causing the water to plunge forward at alarming rates. And if you listen closely, it is thought that you can still hear her cries out for her lost lover. You should go there. Let's see what happens. Take a video camera. If you die, I'll stop the stream. That way I don't get that way I don't lose anything.
Throw the video camera in there and just make it look like it did something. Oh no! I can grab one of these pointy rocks. Oh no! They broke my opposite legs.
I will say this though, it looks really pretty.
Yeah, there's places that'll kill you, or also foods that'll kill you. Look pretty.
Hey, look, it's only claiming men, so I should be safe to go explore it.
Then off you go. Then take the Furby.
I'm not taking the Furby. Stop calling him a Furby. He's a Yoda doll. That just happens to be related to Furby. He is a Furby Yoda. Go with Yoda. Stop calling it a Furby.
So that makes it a Furby. Moving on.
I only own one Furby, and it's made out of candle wax.
That's great. Take the Furby. Anyway.
But you said moving on, so we are going to move on.
The birds.
To the Queen Mary. This is another place I really want to visit. So the RMS Queen Mary is actually a retired British ocean liner that sailed primarily in the North Atlantic Ocean from 1936 to 1967 for the Cunard White Star Line and was built by John Brown and Company in Clydebank, Scotland. Queen Mary, along with the RMS Queen Elizabeth, were built as part of the Conyers Plan two-ship weekly express service between Southampton, Cherbourg, and New York. The two ships were a British response to the express superliners built by German, Italian, and French companies in the late 1920s and early 1930s. On May 27th, 1936, the Queen Mary sailed on her maiden voyage and actually won the Blue Ribbon that August. She lost it to the SS Normandy in 1937, but recaptured it back in 1938, holding on to it until 1952 when it was taken by the new SS United States.
And then it hit an iceberg.
No, it didn't hit an iceberg. But due to the outbreak of World War II, she was then converted into a troop ship and ferried Allied soldiers during the conflict.
But it still managed to win awards in 1952. Okay, cool.
No, I didn't say she won an award. She held on to her award from 1938 until 1952. Then it was taken by the USS. Then it was taken by the new SS United States. After the war, Queen Mary was refitted for passenger service and along with Queen Elizabeth commenced the two-ship transatlantic passenger service for which the two ships were initially built. The two ships dominated the transatlantic passenger transportation market until the dawn of the jet age in the late 1950s. By the mid-1960s, Queen Mary was aging and was operating at a loss. After several years of decreased profits for the Cunard line, Queen Mary was officially retired from service in 1967. She left Southampton for the last time on October 31st, 1967. Oh, wow! Really? On Halloween, and sailed to the port of Long Beach, California, United States, where she was permanently moored. Really? You did it on Halloween? No wonder why the bitch is haunted.
I mean, that's the worst thing that happens.
The city of Long Beach bought the ship to serve as a tourist attraction featuring restaurants, a museum, and a hotel. The city contracted out of management of the ship to various third-party firms over the years. It took back operational control in 2021, where the operator filed for bankruptcy, and it was found that extensive repairs were needed to keep the ship from sinking. The ship is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. The National Trust for Historic Preservation has accepted Queen Mary as part of the Historic Hotels of America. Obviously, the Queen Mary ship is a famous world tourist attraction, but you're not going to be the only guest hanging out on board of this historic ship. In fact, spirits are said to haunt several different places on board, and the hotel offers ghost tours to take full advantage of the spooky stories.
Plus the, 50 other people on the tour line. Scary enough. The smell. Damn peasants.
So not only does the Queen Mary offer a transatlantic history, but it is, like I said, known as one of the most haunted destinations in America. Chris Wilmoth, the director of marketing at the Queen Mary Old Travel and Leisure, in an email said, "The unique history of the ship allows us to offer a one-of-a-kind and authentic experience that delves into the paranormal, from evening tours and ghost investigations to overnight stays in one of our most haunted staterooms, B340. So let's learn a little bit about this stateroom, shall we? This stateroom was actually a problem long before Queen Mary even opened as a hotel. In 1948, a British third-class passenger, Walter J. Adamson, passed away in the room, and the details of his death are unknown. Later in 1966, a woman staying in the room reported that she was woken up when the bed covers were pulled off of her, and she saw a man standing at the foot of the bed. She screamed and rang for the steward, but the man apparently vanished into thin air. That. Years later, guests staying in the room have reported hearing someone knocking on the door in the middle of the night, seeing the bathroom lights turn on. Even the hotel's maid started complaining that they would find the bathroom water running even when no one has stayed in the room for days. And one reported that the bed covers were pulled off right after she put them on. The room was closed to guests for many years, but it has since reopened for anyone looking for an evening of creepy fun.
So, no
that's
info.
that's the room that you're going to stay in.
Okay, well, off you go. Get the Furbies. Sure they
You,
love
I,
water.
you are really gonna stop with it. The Mauritania Room. In 1989, two women were sent to clean this lounge for a VIP reception. When they entered the room, they found a passenger sitting on a chair in the middle of the dance floor who didn't say a word. When a third woman came in to help with the cleaning, she remarked that the passenger was staring and asked her to move. As the employee started to call security, the passenger faded right in front of them, a feat all three women reported seeing at the time.
And that's when the blue screen of death from Windows appeared.
Would you stop?
The hourglass kept shifting. No?
The Mayfair Room. This room was once the ship's beauty salon, but now it is used as offices for the hotel. In 2001, a member of the accounting staff came to work early at about 5:30 a.m. to be exact, and simply felt like something was off. She went about her office tasks before sitting down at her desk and feeling unusually cold. Later, she felt someone brush up against the back of her chair, but no one was there. Just minutes after that, the woman saw a transparent figure in white walk across the room and pass through the door. She instantly grabbed her keys and left the room until her coworkers arrived. Which I probably would have done the same thing. I'd been like, fuck that shit, I'm out. Bye. No, thank you.
But they didn't actually leave the ship, they just left the room, so.
Well, because it's in the room.
Yeah, and you said things appeared on the ship in other places, so.
Well, obviously she didn't see anything else but that there.
Great idea, wasn't it?
You know, it's dangerous out there and you should not go alone.
Take your Furby.
I'm so sorry I told you that story.
Left yourself open for that one.
The first class swimming pool. This now abandoned pool on board, which was once the epitome of luxury, with an illuminated fountain, a mother of pearl ceiling, and elaborated mosaic tiles. The pool is no longer in use because of California code issues, but that doesn't stop it from being one of the hotbeds of paranormal activity on the ship. People have reported seeing a number of ghosts here, including a young woman in a tennis skirt walking downstairs and disappearing behind a pillar, a woman in an old wedding gown next to the pool with a little boy in a suit, and a cloud of steam appears out of nowhere along with a little girl in a blue and white dress who disappears in an instant. At least no one's actually swimming in the pool. That would be kind of creepy if you just see this thing swimming and there's no water and you're just like, no. They gotta go. Boiler room number 4. Several people reported seeing a little girl in this area, sometimes sucking her thumb and sometimes with a doll in the hand. Whether or not the room is haunted by that little girl, we'll probably choose to stay away from it. Probably. I'm not into ghost kids.
Yeah, you know what happened there, right? They used her as fuel.
And then, yeah, probably.
Put her in with a coal and, ground the body.
And then a story that's just so sad. Hatch door number 13. The hatch door is known as Shaft Alley, and it was the site of a very gruesome accident that actually saw one of the crewsmen crushed to death. In 1966, the watertight doors in the engine and boiler rooms were ordered to be closed. 5 minutes later, an 18-year-old crew member from Yorkshire was found crushed in the door of hatch 13, trapped with his arms pinned to his side. Even though he was eventually freed and carried to the hospital ward and even given morphine, he showed signs of crushing injury on his arms, chest, and pelvis, and was bleeding from his nose, and actually died shortly after he got to the hospital ward. His ghost is actually seen now around the area, with people reporting the sound of someone running behind them and whistling. Others have noticed that spots of grease that look like fingerprints appear on their faces. Some have seen a figure of a bearded man in blue coveralls that looks just like the man who died out of the corner of their eyes. And several others have said that they saw an engineer wandering the halls asking if guests have seen his wrench, but when they went back to find him, he has disappeared.
Sounds like you had fun.
Very.
Yeah, very.
So very. You're just going to use that till the day you die now at this point, aren't you?
Well, you seem to have this thing where you're scared of everything, so there you go. Just put it
I'm
up
not
for you.
scared of everything. I just happen to know that this stuff is real. I've seen it with my own eyes. Just maybe not this particular spot, but in other spots I've seen things like this. I know ghosts are real.
It's appropriate. I'm just putting it there for you. Thanks, Cassie. You're a legend.
So now we are going to London for, of course, the Tower of London. The Tower of London, officially Her Majesty's Royal Palace and Fortress of the Tower of London, is a historical castle on the north bank of the River Thames in central London. It lies within the London Borough of Tower Hamlets, which is separated from the eastern edge of the square mile of the City of London by the open space known as Tower Hill. It was founded towards the end of 1066 as part of the Norman Conquest. The White Tower, which gives the entire castle its name, was built by William the Conqueror in 1078 and was a resident symbol of oppression inflicted upon London by the new ruling elite. The castle was also used as a prison from 1100 until 1952, although it was not its primary purpose. A grand palace early in its history, it served as a royal residence. As a whole, the tower is a complex of several buildings set within two rings of defensive walls and a moat. There were several phases of expansion, mainly under Kings Richard I, Henry III, and Edward I in the 12th and 13th century. The general layout established by the late 13th century remains despite the later activity on the site. The Tower of London has actually played a prominent role in English history. It was besieged several times, and controlling it has been important to controlling the country. The tower has served variously as an armory, a treasury, a menagerie, the home of the Royal Mint, a public record office, and the home of the crown jewels of England. From the early 14th century until the reign of Charles II in the 17th century, a procession would be led from the tower to Westminster Abbey on the coronation of a monarch. In the absence of a monarch, the constable of the tower is in charge of the castle. This was a powerful and trusted position in the medieval period, and in the late 15th century, the princes in the tower were housed at the castle when they mysteriously disappeared, presumed murdered. Under the Tudors, the tower became used less as a royal residence, and despite attempts to refortify and repair the castle, its defenses lagged behind the developments to deal with artillery. Hi, can I help you? You want to see? No? Okay. The zenith of the castle's use as a prison was the 16th and 17th century, when many figures who had fallen into disgrace, such as Elizabeth I before she became queen, Sir Walter Raleigh, and Elizabeth Throckmorton, were held within its walls. This use has been led to the phrase "sent to the tower." Despite its enduring reputation as a place of torture and death, popularized by the 16th century religious propagandists and the 19th century writers, only 7 people were actually executed within the tower before the world wars of the 20th century. Executions were more commonly held in the notorious Tower Hill to the north of the castle, with 112 occurring there over a 400-year period. In the latter half of the 19th century, institutions such as Royal Mint moved out of the castle to other locations, leaving many buildings empty. Hi. Come here. In the First and Second World Wars, the tower was used again as a prison and witnessed the execution of 12 men for espionage. After the Second World War, damage caused during the Blitz was repaired and the castle reopened to the public. Today, the Tower of London is one of the country's most popular tourist attractions. Under the ceremonial charge of the Constable of the Tower. Ew, what did you just, ew. Are you sick? Because you just snotted all over me. And operated by the resident governor of the Tower of London and keeper of the Jewel House. The property is cared for by the charity Royal Savic. I can't butt down. Is cared for by the charity Historic Royal Palaces and is protected as a World Heritage site. Not helpful. Ow. Love you. Hi. You just snotted all over me. Your nose is running. Inner shutting. Can you get down now? Down. Down. All the way down. Not look down, but get down. No, you're the dog. Here. To the couch with you. Thank you. Well, that was fun.
Can we play the theme for Animal House now? If it was
Absolutely not.
Stop inhaling it. I said you to deal with.
Oh, sorry. All right. So, is this place haunted? Well, there's a lot of legends and ghosts associated with the Tower of London. And this actually has been a cat hair.
Apparently.
All right. The tower has actually been a visitor attraction since the 18th century. But the numbers of tours actually increased dramatically in the 1800s. Visitors were fascinated by the stories of England's turbulent and sometimes gruesome history. Stories of ghosts haunting the tower, such as Anne Boleyn, is said to stalk the site of her execution in Tower Green. Arbella Stewart, the cousin of Elizabeth I, who starved while under arrest for marrying without royal permission, is said to frequent the Queen's house still. There are two smaller ghosts that are thought to be in the princes in the tower, and the warders even tell a chilling tale of a huge bear who occasionally appears to frighten visitors to death. Okay, look, I've heard of ghost cats and dogs, but a ghost bear?
What? This has you worried?
I don't need ghost bears.
But ghost cats and dogs are fine. Okay. I'm gonna go shark. Pretty sure there's movies about that.
We don't need a ghost shark, no. By the way,
stick with bears then.
By the way, did you know that ravens are actually part of the legend of the Tower of London? It's actually known that it's supposedly the story goes that if the ravens were to ever leave the tower, both it and the kingdom would fall. So 7 ravens live at the tower today and are actually cared for by a dedicated yeoman warder known as the Raven Master. There is somebody who gets paid to feed birds.
I'm kind of sensing a theme here.
Now, as for the ghost themselves, like I said, Anne Boleyn, many people know her as the second wife of Henry VIII and the first wife he executed. Anne is actually probably the most famous and persistent of all the tower ghosts. Like I said, she's seen in the Tower Green where she was executed. She still happens to wander the corridors as a headless body.
Awesome. And you're worried about ghost bears. Jesus Christ, woman.
She has no head. What is she going to do to me? Ghost bear.
Oh, what is the headless ghost going to do but a ghost bear? It's going to do heaps worse. All right. They're both ghosts.
Henry VI is actually known to be there. If you know a little bit about him, he actually stood to inherit both the English and French thrones, but the House of York imprisoned him during the War of the Roses. Shortly after, Edward IV seized the throne in 1471. Henry VI was stabbed while praying in Wakefield Tower, which his ghost haunts to this day. He likes to appear at the last stroke of midnight. Lady Jane Grey, who was actually only queen for 9 days before being executed by Mary Tudor, aka Bloody Mary, along with her husband, Lord Guildford Dudley. Jane was advanced as an Anglican alternative to the Catholic Mary. Lady Jane's Grey ghost is seen wandering the battlements, a lonely, solitary figure. And her husband actually haunts the Beauchamp Tower, sitting in his cell, weeping late into the night. It is also said that he is responsible for the word Jane etched into the wall. Margaret Pole, the Countess of Salisbury, was actually a victim of one of the most gruesome botched executions in history. When the Countess reached for the scaffold where she was to be beheaded, she refused to kneel, saying, "So should traitors do, and I am none." When the executioner raised his axe, she ran, and he chased her all around the scaffold, hacking at her until she died a gory death. Holy shit!
Yeah, well. Got to make it final, so.
Her ghostly screams can still be heard in the Tower Green, and few visitors actually claim to have seen the ghostly reenactment of the chase. Dude, hell no!
No, that's what you want to see. That's some tourist attraction shit right there. Okay.
There's
if they're doing a reenactment, they're not going to do anything to you, are they? Think about it.
Well, more than likely, if they're seeing the reenactment of it, that means that what is it?
They're on drugs. I don't know.
What are they called? I remember. There's residual. That's what I was looking for. It's a residual haunt.
I was just going to say it's something else, but then.
No, residual. Residual means that
you're trapped in the moment, doing the thing over and
they're
over
trapped
again.
in the moment. They don't know that you're there. And normally, if and when it says a few visitors claim to have seen the ghostly reenactment of the chase, I'm going to say that it probably happens on the anniversary of when it happened. That would be the time that you would see it. It would actually probably have to be the exact day and time, because that's normally how a residual reenactment goes. Is it's normally the conditions have to be exactly the same, and it's normally on the same date or time. That's why some residual hauntings only happen once a year, or only happen on a full moon, or only happen at a certain time of night, is because it's residual. It's reenacting that moment in time.
Also, because reenactments always happen at the time of which they usually happen, because that's what reenactments are for.
I understand this. But that doesn't mean that those rules apply to the ghostly world.
But you just said they did, so that's exactly what they do. See? Real world physics.
No, because there are some that just constantly reenact that moment every day at a certain time because of the time.
No!
Anyway, no There's also the haunting of the White Lady who haunts the White Tower. No one knows who she is. Her presence is typically announced by an overwhelming smell of cheap perfume, so strong that it's actually made several tower visitors sick. Visitors report being tapped on the shoulder, only to turn around and see nothing but a wisp of white.
And the smell of ass, apparently.
Two young princes, Edward V and Richard, Duke of York. They were imprisoned in the tower by their uncle Richard, Duke of Gloucester, Richard III, and were murdered on his order.
Hold on.
When the bones... What?
Gloucester? The fuck is that?
Gloucester? I don't know. That just...
Anyway, never mind. Continue.
I told you, I'm not really good with words. Gloucester, Richard III, and was murdered on his order. When the bones of the two small boys were found under the stairs in 1674, most people believed them to be the missing princes, and the bones were given a royal burial in Westminster Abbey. The figures of the two lost boys wearing nightshirts holding hands are frequently seen in the White Tower. Oddly enough, they have also been seen playing in the battlements, as some claim to have heard children giggling. Sir Walter Raleigh, who happened to be imprisoned in the tower not once but twice, once for a secret marriage and once for treason. After his execution, his ghost began wandering around the bloody tower where he was imprisoned, as well as along the battlements known as Riley's Walk. There's also a Grey Lady, well known to residents of the Queen House. The Grey Lady only reveals herself to female prisoners. No one knows who she is.
Might get rid of her.
Like I said, Arbella Stewart, who was killed by King James I because she was not given permission to marry William Seymour, nephew of Lady Jane Grey. Enraged at the insult and perceiving the marriage as a possible threat to his throne, James I imprisoned her in the tower. She died there in 1615. Conflicting reports claim she either stopped eating or she was murdered. She haunts the Queen's house.
I'm sure she's fine.
And back to the creepy one. A number of spectral animals have actually been heard over the years, including monkeys, lions, and horses, but only one has actually been seen. A guard of the tower claimed a ghostly bear charged at him. Though the guard attempted to bayonet the animal, which kept coming at him, soon the sword went through the animal. The guard was carried senseless to his quarters, where he died 2 days later. Fuck ghost bears.
So now we have escaped zoo animals.
Fuck ghost bears. Especially if you know what the royals did to bears back in the days. Fuck, that thing's pissed.
But if he's riding a unicycle, you know he's cool.
That bear's pissed. End of story.
Okay.
Well, it is. It's going to be pissed. Pissed. All right, so we're going to do one more. I had a lot, but we're just going to do one more because it's getting late. And we're going to do the Waverly Hills Sanatorium. Which I've been there. I've been there.
Anyone who's in the FBI listening?
Waverly Hills Sanatorium is a former sanatorium located in southwestern Louisville, Jefferson County, Kentucky. It's actually not that far from me. It opened in 1910 as a 2-story hospital to accommodate 40 to 50 tuberculosis patients. In the late 1900s, Jefferson County was ravaged by an outbreak of tuberculosis known as the White Plague, which prompted the construction of a new hospital. The hospital closed in 1961 due to the antibiotic drug that lowered the need for such a hospital. There were original plans to turn the abandoned hospital into a hotel, but that is no longer the case. The history of this is the land that it is known today as Waverly Hill was purchased by Major Thomas H. Hayes in 1883 as the Hayes family home. Since the new home was far away from any existing schools, Mr. Hayes decided to open a local school for his daughters to attend. He started a one-room schoolhouse on Pages Lane and hired Lizzie Lee Harris as the teacher. Due to Miss Harris' fondness for Walter Scott Riley's novels, she named the schoolhouse Waverly School. Or Walter Scott Waverly's novel, she named the schoolhouse Waverly School. Major Hayes liked the peaceful sounding name, so he named it properly Waverly Hill. The Board of Tuberculosis Hospitals kept the name when they bought the land and opened the sanatorium. And is this place haunted? Yes. Yes, it is.
Just no ghost bears.
No, there's no ghost bears. Thank fuck.
But there is unicycles.
No.
Yes.
So basically, this place has just grown in infamy over the years. It draws paranormal thrill seekers from all over the world. It's been on Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures,
Ghost bears.
It's no.
Damn it,
Absolutely
we'll
not.
fix that.
In 1926, the property actually got an expansion holding more than 400 patients at once. Tuberculosis back in the day was actually very deadly and extremely contagious. So even the nurses had to stay there on the property. So a lot of them also caught it and died. And they even had its own zip code, a post office, and farmland because they weren't allowed to leave the grounds. The facility was closed and renovated in 1961, reopening in 1962 as a nursing home where it served patients until closing in 1981. It stayed closed for 20 years as the property fell in disrepair and was purchased in 2001 by the current owners today, Charlie and Tina Mattingly, who founded the Waverly Hills Historical Society 2 years later. In 2001, a newspaper story ahead of an on-site tapping of Fox Family's Scariest Places on Earth, a Courier Journal reporter noted countless local legends about the place being haunted had been fueled by the high number of people who succumbed to tuberculosis during more than 50 years in its house patients. The infamous 600-foot body chute, for instance, that was used to discreetly move thousands of corpses through the facility, has grown in infamy and is often cited as a place where ghostly experiences take place. In a 2017 interview with the Courier, Tina actually said that orbs and balls of light are believed to have been seen in the chute along with spirits. Room 502 is notorious. The room in the rooftop chambers is believed to have housed tuberculosis patients with mental illness, and in 2010 was allegedly the site of a nurse's death by suicide. Yes, you sound completely thrilled. It's actually no more Furbies, no more bears. You're obsessed with Furby bears now.
Fur bears.
It's actually believed that nearly 50,000 people died there, and they were actually disposed via the body chute. With all the other stories, the nurse that hung herself is reportedly still there roaming the halls. There's one about a boy named Timmy, who spends his day looking for someone to play with, and you can actually roll a ball to him and he will return, and it will be returned to you.
Well, there you go. It's free entertainment.
Always.
Can't complain about that, really.
Of course, as always, you'll hear the footsteps, the creaking, lots of disembodied voices. A lot of people say that they hear people going, "It hurts, help me," crying, screaming.
That's awesome.
So yeah,
Space that are shoot them up.
while I was there, I experienced a lot of these things. I gave the ball to Timmy, he pushed it back. I could hear crying and screaming, footsteps, what looked to be. And here's the thing though, is I can't say yes it was an orb. I want to say it was an orb, but the place is dusty. I ain't gonna say that it's not. So what I could have seen was dust, but the way that it moved makes me believe that it wasn't dust, makes me believe that it was a ghost orb, because dust has its bugs, dust, and orbs all have their own different mechanics, the way how they move. And so when it makes erratic movements like that, it makes me believe that it's a ghost orb. You don't Dust doesn't normally do this, and there were no bugs at that particular time. Um from my experience there is a deep thing of sadness. You just, if you're sensitive, I'm going to tell you this right now, you're going to go in there and you're probably going to cry, because it has this overbearing sense of sadness and despair and the feeling of loss and loneliness and isolation, that if you're, especially if you're very sensitive to things like that within the paranormal, you're probably going to cry, you're probably going to feel depressed, you're probably just, it's very overwhelming. It's a really cool place to go see. And if you're into paranormal things, or you just want to experience, it's a way to experience a little bit of history and paranormal at the same time. And the only reason why this one is the one that I'm picking as my last one is because I've actually had the ability to go there. It costs, I think it's $300 for the tour. I think when I went, it was like $300 for the tour, or $1,000 for an overnight investigation tour.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, tickets are on sale now. You got 26 days, 21 hours, and 14 minutes, and 34 seconds. I'm on the website trying to.
Planning a trip, I.
Reservations, access, blah, vehicles must be turned off during the evening. The 6-hour public investigation, the Halloween event, spectacular haunted special tours. I mean, it's not cheap, but it was a lot of fun. Like I said, for me, it was a little overwhelming, but but I just happen to be sensitive to stuff like that. So one of the things that I get when I'm ghost hunting is like I get feelings. I get like sadness, anger, rage.
Bears on unicycles. Those poor bastards.
Carrying Furbies, right?
No. Throwing Furbies.
Oh, goody. But that's all that I have for you guys today. Fuel, was there any of those places that you would like to go see?
I don't know. I think I could create my own.
Which I'm sure you could do. I'm sure you could. Okay, when Fuel sets up a horror attraction, you know what's going to be in there. And the only things that are going to be in there.
Yeah, no attractions, just dead people, probably.
Instead of Islands of the Dolls, it's going to be the Island of the Skulls.
Depends, really.
Well, for me, I would have to say that Myrtles Plantation would be the one within the United States that I would like to go see.
Yeah, because that way you can hang up your furry thing on the tree and be done with it.
As for outside of the U.S., I'd probably go to the Monte Crisco Homestead in Australia. That one seems
Just
interesting.
that green fog.
So I can see the green fog. Yes, exactly. I'm obsessed with the green fog.
That was kind of nasty.
I don't know. There's just something about. I mean, first off, I want to take some paranormal equipment with me, get a recording device, because I'm going to be like, why don't you like animals?
What?
Remember that's the one where the people who bought the place?
Yeah, I was just going to say, what you could do first is go to Uluru and take a rock, and then go to the house, see what happens.
No! Uluru's rocks can stay right where Uluru is. I ain't stupid. I ain't messing with some... No.
Fine.
I'm not having some aboriginal spirits come haunt my ass. No, thank you. I don't need some aboriginal spirits coming and fucking me up. I don't mess with that shit.
Okay.
Look, as far as I'm concerned, messing with anything that's aboriginal in Australia is like messing with anything that is Native American here in the United States. So, absolutely not. I don't think so.
Okay.
But on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you enjoyed it. Maybe you found some places that you've been to. Maybe there's some places you want to go to. Maybe you want to see if any of these stories are true yourself. So most of these places, I think the Queen Mary is actually they closed it down as of the pandemic. So I don't know if they've reopened it or not. But the Catacombs in Paris are open. In that itty bitty little section, you can visit the Tower of London. Both of the places in Australia, the Devil's Pool and the Monte Crisco Homestead. Obviously, the Stanley Hotel and Myrtles Plantation you can visit. A lot of these places are open for people to visit. And like I said, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is already working on their Halloween investigations and fun. This is their prime time. So, but of course, as always, everybody, we thank everybody on both Fuels and my stream for joining us. We want to thank you all for all the support that you've given us. For those of you who are on my channel, make sure that you check out Fuel over on his Twitch channel, Fuel the Hatred, his TikTok, his YouTube, and of course, you can follow him on Twitter at Fuel Hatred. And if you need some more AGP, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Reddit, and of course, YouTube. On that note, no, I don't do unicycles.
Bears.
No, yes. No, and no. Absolutely not. Fuel has been sniffing gasoline again.
Yes, gasoline.
Works.
Your proof is what?
Anyway, on that note,
you tried it.
Not sniffing gas.
Sure.
Look, I did enough whippets back in the day as a kid. I don't need to sniff gas.
Are the eyes lighting up?
Oh, dear Lord.
Come on, man, do your thing.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and make sure that you check us out. We appreciate all that you do, and we'll see you all on the next one. Bye.